2011 calls for the annual budget proposal be prepared and presented in this August House. Therefore, allow me, Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, to present the budget proposal for the fiscal year 2022-2023 to this August House. The budget proposal outlines the government's annual expenditure estimates aligned to the revenue forecasted to be realized during the fiscal year 2023-2024. Context of the 2023-24 budget. Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, our economy continues to suffer from numerous external shocks and internal structural weaknesses, which have created acute macroeconomic instability and suffering to our people. The current war in Ukraine, the still lingering impacts of COVID-19 pandemics, the impact of climate change, flooding and droughts, low agricultural productivity, poor infrastructure, internal communal conflicts, and the now heightening conflict in the Sudan, all have contributed to the current weak state of our economy. We are working hard to put in place a coherent strategies to address these challenges and to engage our international development partners for necessary support. Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, to address these challenges, the implementation and consolidation of the peace is at the top of our government's priorities. To this respect, we are making efforts as government to ensure that the remaining articles of our acts are fully implemented by providing adequate funding to the implementation of the roadmap to further consolidate peace and continue with the necessary reforms to stabilize our economy. We are also preparing to hold our first ever National Economic Conference, which was publicly announced by our President when he recently gave his speech to this House. The conference will bring all of us together to chart a clear roadmap to address the chronic structural weaknesses facing our economy. Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, the 2023-24 proposed budget aims to stimulate economic stability and recovery through viable fiscal, monetary, and structural reforms measures. This includes continuous steps for public financial management reforms and the operationalization of the Public Procurement and Disposal of Assets Authority as a way to promote economic stability and to improve the management of our public resources. Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, the economic recovery process is also spurred by the revitalized peace agreement on the resolution of conflict in South Sudan. Therefore, with the peace implementation, we expect the internally displaced persons and those in the refugee camps in the neighboring countries to return to their homes and engage in productive activities, including agriculture, to further stabilize the economy. Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, this budget's emphasis is to prioritize the allocation of limited resources that we have to increase the salaries of civil servants and members of the organized forces, improve roads and other infrastructural projects, create coherent environment for investment, and to generate more non-oil revenue in order to avoid over-dependence on oil. And equally, focus on social sector in order to improve service delivery and reduce vulnerability on our people. I am hopeful that the reforms within the budget, combined with the peace, will lay a foundation for economic recovery and growth. Let me now come to macroeconomic overview. Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, the revised National Development Strategy, RNDS, has identified, among others, macroeconomic stability and long-term fiscal sustainability as the main macroeconomic objectives of South Sudan government. Macroeconomic stability of a country is determined by a stable economy, low level of inflation, exchange rate stability, prudent fiscal policy, and a stable low interest rates. Long-term fiscal sustainability is when there exists a consistent relationship between the public expenditure estimates and revenue projection. Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, although the rise in the global oil price seems to favor us in terms of generating more revenue to the government, it is worth mentioning that we are financially constrained because we equally spend more money on imported goods and services, as we are a net importers of the most of the essential commodities and services that we consume. Performance of the 2022-23 budget. Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, we plan that the approval of the 2023-2024 budget is going to happen earlier than in the previous years due to earlier budget preparation and submission to this House. We are determined that through hard work of the staff of Minister of Finance and Planning in this fiscal year, the budget execution commence as planned. Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, before I present the figures for the fiscal year 2023-2024 budget, let me highlight our performance during the last fiscal year 2022-2023. During the fiscal year 2022-2023, the revenue collected in the first 3 quarters amounted to about 1,071,104,985,602. This is due to rise in the crude oil prices and improvement in tax administration by the National Revenue Authority. Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, the total agency spending in the last 3 quarters was 48% as compared to the projected agency's spending during the 3 quarters of 75%. The total spending on wages and salaries was 113,846,878. Use of goods and services was about 208.6 billion. Furthermore, the capital expenditure, transfers, and other expenditures were SSP 30.4 billion, 43.7 billion, and 41.4 billion, respectively. In addition to the above expenditure, Minister of Finance and Planning was able to pay some of the mandatory obligations. These obligations included payment to Sudan, that is tariff, to the tune of 346.5 billion. Oil producing states and administrative areas, the 2%, to the tune of 11.2 billion. And then oil producing communities, that is 3%, to the tune of 16.7 billion. Oil for infrastructure to the tune of 228.5 or 0.6 billion. Future Generation Fund, 6 billion, and then transfers to Ministry of Petroleum, 3%, or about 12.8 billion, and NRA Operations Fund to the tune of 6.9 billion. Right, Honorable Speaker, honorable members, with regard to borrowing, the Minister of Finance and Planning, on behalf of the government of South Sudan, was able to meet the payments obligations without any borrowing in the last 3 quarters of the fiscal year 2022-2023. So we did not engage in any borrowing from the central bank or from any. It is from our own resources. Let me now come to macroeconomic policies. So I'm getting a dry throat, so let me have a sip of water. Because of borrowing. Let me now come to macroeconomic policies. Right, Honorable Speaker, honorable members, Ministry of Finance and Planning will continue to embark on the public financial management reforms and the revised National Development Strategy as basic economic policy documents, which will guide the government of South Sudan in resource mobilization and allocation to support economic growth and development. Right, Honorable Speaker, honorable members, attaining the growth objectives in fiscal year 2022-2023 demands that the private sector plays a stronger role. It is also imperative that South Sudanese participate fully in the various economic activities. In addition, availability and access to credit will need to be enhanced. On our part as government, we shall continue to focus on implementing structural reforms and providing infrastructure in order to reduce the cost of doing business. We shall also work to map ongoing private sector engagements, assess gaps in private sector mobilization, and how to close these gaps. We shall also support the development of public-private partnerships, PPPs, to encourage private investment in the development of critical economic and social infrastructure. The government will also work with the development partners to empower private sector through building the capacity of local private sector. Right, Honorable Speaker and honorable members, the fiscal year 2023-2024 budget is a lean budget with the theme of consolidating peace and stabilizing the economy. The aim is to ensure that our limited resources are used to implement peace and to prioritize salary increment and social spending, invest in infrastructure, and meet government operational expenses. Right, Honorable Speaker, honorable members, the key macroeconomic objectives for the fiscal year 2023-2024 budget is that the real GDP will grow, the real GDP growth will be around 3.9% compared to 1.5% growth in the fiscal year 2022-2023. Inflation is estimated to average at around 10.4%. An exchange rate of the South Sudanese pounds against the United States dollar is expected to stabilize at around 917 pounds per dollar. And oil price will average around US 80.7 per barrel. On the monetary and financial sector side, Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, I would like to emphasize that the monetary policy in the fiscal year 2023-2024 will continue to focus on maintaining monetary stability in the wake of the global crisis caused by the Ukraine war and Sudan conflict. In this regard, the Bank of South Sudan will continue to implement measures aimed at enhancing price and exchange rate stability, as well as the stability and resilience of the financial system against internal and external shocks. On the fiscal policy side, Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, one of the key objectives of the government in the fiscal year 2023-2024 is to consolidate fiscal discipline by maintaining appropriate level of borrowing and prudent budget execution. In this regard, Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, the government's long-term debt management objective will be to raise adequate level of financing at a reduced cost and reduced risk. In addition, we will continue to pursue strategies to ensure that the national public debt is maintained at sustainable levels. Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, with respect to borrowing, Ministry of Finance and Planning shall solicit money from credible lenders to finance the fiscal gap, while refraining from financing the fiscal the deficit through borrowing from the Bank of South Sudan, which is always inflationary. In this regard, the Minister of Finance and Planning shall reintroduce the Treasury bills as a way to boost government capacity in raising revenue from domestic and the public, which is not inflationary in nature. Treasury bills are short-term financial instruments issued by governments with a maturity period of a year or less. Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, with regard to development aid, the government will work with our development partners to improve aid architecture with the objective to ensure that development aid is aligned with the government priorities and to ensure regular monitoring and evaluation, as well as prepare reporting on the aid effectiveness. On the structural reforms in the budget, in the fiscal year budget of 2023-2024, Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, in July 2021, the Council of Ministers approved the Public Financial Management Reform Strategy. Public financial management will be critical in supporting not only good governance, but also for effective and efficient delivery of the essential goods and services to our citizens. Our government will continue the PFM reforms program and the full operationalization of the amended laws and regulations relating to public financial management. Let me now come to the figures of the budget for 2023-2024. Of course, the full details are in the budget book, but just giving here the highlights of or the summary of what is contained in the budget book. Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, the projected revenue for the fiscal year 2023-2024 amounts to 1,837,840,803 pounds, while the proposed spending stands at around 2,105 billion 14,441,619 pounds. This means that we will have a deficit of about 267 billion 141 million and 816 pounds. This deficit is about 4.6% of our gross national product, GDP. This is the amount which we will have to finance through borrowing from non-inflationary sources. Let me come to the details of this revenue that I've just mentioned. Right, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Members, out of the gross revenue of SSP 1.8 trillion, an amount of 1.5, I'm just rounding up the figures, an amount of 1.5 trillion is from the oil revenue, and 245 billion point 3 will come from non-oil revenue. And then we have about 56.1 or 56.2 will come in forms of grants. And of course, as I said there, the deficit is still there, about 267 billion. The total oil production is projected at 132,362 barrels per day in the fiscal year 2023-2024, down from 150 barrels per day in the fiscal year 2022-2023. The projected reduction of 17,638 barrels per day in oil production is due to depletion of some oil wells, as well as the effects of flood experience from 2021-2022. Government profit share in the oil production is 44%. Right, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Members, out of the gross oil revenue of 1.5 trillion, the government has provided for a direct transfers to mandatory payments of 320 billion, of which, so the mandatory payment of 320 billion is broken down as follows. 173.1 billion will be in the transfers and fees to Sudan. And then transfers to oil producing states, administrative areas, that is the 2%, will amount to 30.7 billion. Payment to communities, that is the 3%, will amount to 46 billion. Transfers to Ministry of Petroleum, that is the 3%, will amount also to 46 billion. Then retention by the national, by the NRA is around 24.5 billion. Right, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Members, non-oil revenue are projected at around, as I said, 245 billion in this fiscal year. The projected increase in the non-oil revenue is on account of the tax administration reforms undertaken by the National Revenue Authority, which include digitalization of tax collection, broadening of the tax base, and the proposal to fully deploy National Revenue Authority staff in all the non-tax revenue collecting institutions. In addition, we have proposed some adjustments in the fees structures for some of the non-oil revenue categories, as well as cancellation of the tax exemptions which are outside the law by the Ministry of Finance and Planning. We have already issued a circular to cancel all the statutory tax exemptions. These proposals are included in the financial bill for the fiscal year 2023-2024. It is essential, therefore, that the House passes the financial bill alongside the budget so that we have a legal basis for our revenue estimates. Now I come to the expenditure. Right Honorable Speaker, what I just mentioned was the mandatory expenditure. Let's now come to the budget expenditure. The total expenditure proposed for the fiscal year 2023-2024 is 2.1 trillion pounds. That is the government spending. Out of this, 455 billion is budgeted for salaries and wages. 222.7 billion is budgeted for the use of goods and services. And then 541.8 billion is allocated to cater for capital expenditure. These are our usual budget chapters. Then others is about 1.6 billion. But there are certain spending that I wanted to highlight more. That is, as our theme for this budget is consolidation of peace and stabilization of the economy, we are allocating 50 billion pounds for peace implementation. The last budget, the peace implementation was budgeted for 12 billion. We have now tripled it, and we have increased it to, or more than tripled, to 50 billion. Also, we have also budgeted this time, or increased the budget for contingency. As we know now, with the events that are happening in Sudan, we have a lot of influx of refugees and our retainees. So we didn't have enough budget in the emergency at that time. So here in the contingency, we have put 37.8 or 0.9 billion for contingency budget. Also, we have, based on the directives and the speech of the President last time when he addressed the Parliament, and the reopening of the Parliament, he directed that we budget for Constituency Development Fund. So this time, we have put a budget of 47.9 billion pounds for CDF, or Constituency Development Fund. Also, we have made a budget of 151 billion for transfers to states and administrative areas. And also, we have a budget of 32 billion for salary arrears of our foreign missions. These are the highlights of the budget, but as I said, all the details are stated in the budget book. In conclusion, Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, I wanted to sincerely emphasize that the macroeconomic challenges which our country faces today requires sound economic policies to move forward, or to move towards stability and sustainable economic recovery. I am confident that the fiscal year 2023-2024 budget proposal will consolidate peace and stabilize the economy, which should lead us to realize economic growth and development. We need to commit ourselves to ensure that public resources are used efficiently and effectively for the benefit of all South Sudanese. Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, with this presentation, allow me to table the draft national budget, the appropriation bill, and the financial bill for the fiscal year 2023-2024 for the deliberation and approval by this August House. Thank you for listening.
His name, Jesus Christ, I am the overcomer. In His name, Jesus Christ, I am the overcomer. In His name, Jesus Christ, I am the overcomer. In His name, Jesus Christ, I am the overcomer.
In Uganda, the parliament is expected to vote today on a law that would increase prison sentences for homosexual acts to a maximum of 10 years. Gay says anyone who claims a gender identity other than male and female. Support in parliament appears to be strong.
Uganda's parliament debates new anti-gay legislation. Under the proposals, simply identifying as LGBT+ would be a crime. For gay activist Eric Ndula, the move comes as no surprise.
Of course, this has been the environment that has been happening from politicians, from religious leaders, even back from our family and homes, telling us that homosexuality is wrong, it's an abomination. Looking at a bill coming in Parliament, it was not a big surprise.
Ndula has been rejected by his family and has faced evictions and arrests for being gay.
We were raided by a mob of people who wanted to, attack us and kill us. But when we called the police to our assistance, we were instead arrested, subjected to forced annual examinations, and at the end of the day, we became suspects of carnal knowledge against the order of nature, even though we called the police for support to help us from a mob that was going to lynch us.
The author of the proposed law suggests a maximum punishment of up to 10 years imprisonment for homosexuals. He claims that this landmark bill has widespread support.
If you went to my constituents, Bujiri municipality, and asked the people whether they are with me on this issue, they will tell you we are behind our MP. Because for me, as far as this matter is concerned, this is one of the issues where I have directly represented the voices of the people I represent.
Uganda already has laws criminalising same-sex acts dating back to British colonial rule. But according to Human Rights Watch, the law would make Uganda the only African country to criminalise simply identifying as gay. Ndwala says that the new bill fuels hate in an already homophobic country and feels that soon his only choice may be to leave Uganda.
But of course, you know how this works.
A terrible disease in the name of diabetes. For about 6 years, she had it in 1985 and died in 1989. The worst part of it is her last days before she died. She had diabetic wounds all over the body. Every skin on her body was just peeling off. So the only thing you could see was blood oozing and red meat on her body. So if she put on any type of dress, it could stick on the wounds. And when it was removed, it would come out with the flesh. So she had nowhere to hide herself. She could not sleep. She could not sit down. Anywhere was just hell on earth. So at last, she succumbed to the sickness and she died. And then I came here at Southampton and did my BSc and practical training in all aspects of aircraft landing systems and the calibration of airport equipment all over the world. My job was very special because I could only report to the government of East Africa, of Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania.
That make you to have contact and talk together to head of states.
Yes, anytime I went there, they had to know that I was in the country and what type of the job I was sent to do.
In the other hand, you are earning good money. You could, if money could help, you could use it to cure your mother.
Yes, I started earning good money at a very early age. I had a lot of money at that time.
And if it was money to cure your mother, you could do anything that your money and make your mom to be surviving.
Yes, I could do anything to cure my mom because at that time there was only one doctor in the whole country who specialized in diabetes, Dr. Mungola. And when I took my mom to him, he said that diabetes can only be controlled but cannot be cured. There was nothing he could do at the level of where my mom had reached with her diabetes. So he just told me to wait for her death.
And how could you feel when the maggot is in your mother's body and your mother's skin is remaining meat?
It was sad, Archbishop. I remember one day I went home from Nairobi to see her, and she told me that you are my son. There's nothing I'm hiding. She removed all her clothes to show me the wounds, and I could not bear it anymore.
You couldn't?
I couldn't.
It's painful. Even if I was you, I will definitely be concerned. Even today, the doctors, Dr. Alain and Hans, confirmed that 40 million people has died of diabetic, but there is no cure for it. They can only control it, but they don't have the answer to cure it. And how your mom died is also, they describe it, that happened in that manner.
Yes, as Bishop, I thank you for alerting everybody, because I was reading in a newspaper last week, Kenya with a population of 30 million, 10 million are now affected by diabetes. So it is wiping out Kenyan population.
Kenya has got 30 million people. 10 million people of Kenyans are suffering of diabetic.
Yes.
So your brother has type 1 diabetic. What about your mother? What type of your mother was?
My mother also had type 1 diabetes.
So that it's known as type 1 diabetes. Do you know type 2?
Yes.
Okay, we are not going to go on deep type 2, type 1. Let us go to type 1 diabetic, which made your brother's leg to be amputated. And what happened? Because it ate the marrows inside the bones.
Yes, just started as ordinary sickness, but then it developed into complications. So he was given insulin to be injecting himself once every day.
Your brother.
My brother.
Is he the elder brother or younger?
Elder brother.
Thank you.
But then it reached a stage where medicine could not have control. So he started developing gangrene. So one leg started rotting. So when he was taken to the ward, they tried to heal the wounds, but they could not do anything. So one day when I went to see him, I just found the bed covered with maggots.
Your brother also had maggot like your mother.
Yes.
Can you listen to what this learned gentleman who did his Cambridge in 1963 and had a high-profile job and get his degree here in UK and went and worked. Can you hear what he's saying? His mother had type 1 diabetic, that her flesh peel off and her body remained flesh and she was alive, with maggot eating her in front of her children. And she was a mother of reputed passion like him. And you could imagine the maggot is eating your mother. The same maggot eat his elder brother when the doctor in the is more emotional. So your brother had the same maggot you used to see on your mother because of diabetes.
Yes, he had the right leg got rotten completely.
Rotten completely.
Completely. So when they amputated his leg, we could just see the hollow tube. The marrow was eaten by a maggot. So it was just a hollow tube.
Mr. Lango, can you just let me understand that the leg is a bone, isn't it? And in the bone is like a pipe. Am I right?
Yes.
Inside the bone, there are what we call
Marrow.
bone marrows. They are very sweet when you eat them from the chicken leg. Even the cow one. I enjoy, if you give me cow, what I like to get make sure I chew is the marrow. Marrow is very sweet. So with your brother, the marrow was already eaten by maggot.
Yes.
But your brother was still alive, watching you with eyes like this.
Yes, he was watching us live.
Painful.
Painful. He had he felt a lot of pain, but there was nothing the doctor could do.
Nothing.
Nothing the doctor could do. So when the highest authority in the hospital suggested that they should amputate the leg, he was very weak. So they amputated his leg when he was alive because they could not put him on anesthesia. He was too weak. So that pain killed him instantly.
Hey, he cried.
He cried very loudly, asking them why they were killing him.
And this is a diabetic which also come on your other brother.
Yes, before that it had killed my follower in 1982.
Diabetic.
Yes, he was the first one to die in the family.
Of diabetic.
Yes.
So you lost your mother of diabetic, you lost your elder brother and your younger brother.
Yes.
And now it was on you.
Yeah, so when it jumped on me, I knew this disease has no cure. And I was just waiting for my time to come.
Because your mother has gone, your two brothers had gone, and now you also, the doctor confirmed to you, you have the same thing. So you know that where your brothers has gone and your mother has gone, you are also, your days was short.
Yes.
So when did they diagnose you having diabetic?
In fact, when when I found that everybody was dying, I just went to hospital myself to have a checkup, normal checkup. And that was, I can't remember the year because with diabetes, you lose memory very fast.
You do.
Yes, I don't know whether it was 94 or whether it was 2000. But it was a bit earlier. Then it disappeared, it deceived me, it disappeared completely. Then I started just eating normal food, doing other things. And then it came back again, that is 2002.
2002.
That is when I came here to be healed in this church up to now.
So, your mother, your brother, Margot, and others died early. Can you explain to the congregation the symptoms and the effect, the embarrassment that diabetes caused you concerning your urinating or your nails and your impotency, which is definitely was so much embarrassing?
Actually, it is better for diabetes to catch up with you at old age when you have already had your children. Otherwise, it is a disease which will make you impotent. So if it catches up with you at early age before you have children, you are finished.
You can't have one.
You may, because it depends on how active you will be, but you will not be as active as you should be when you don't have it. So when I had it, side effects were so severe on me, I felt like just staying in the house permanently because I could urinate every 30 minutes.
Every 30 minutes.
And any time urine comes, you have no control. It will just come out like a pipe which has burst. So it just flows out whether you like it or not. And the moment it does that, it can also make your blood be like fermented alcohol. So your body just smells alcohol, and that one attracts bacteria. So when you cut your any small cut on your skin will never heal. It goes into a big wound, which may result into amputation. So those were my side effects, and the impotence was severe on me. And I had a wife who is very kind and who gave me a lot of encouragement. And so we just had to live with it.
Just a minute. Mommy, can you have that microphone for your husband? And tell people how painful to have a man whom you marry and now is important.
Thank you, Archbishop. As all women know, there's a source of marriage, and that source is sex. If it's not there, you feel like you are missing something very big. And as my husband says, it's unfortunate if it catches you at an early age. But if you are mature the way I was at the time my husband caught it, at least you can learn to live with it. So when he could not perform, I was just, I can't say I was devastated because I wasn't that young at that time.
So a mother.
Yeah, I was already a mother, but then I had to give him encouragement and support. But thank God, Archbishop, since you ministered for him, he's now okay. It's very much okay.
It's now okay. Over 5 years now, it's now okay. Yes. Go back to Mr. Langan. Nails, your nails were gone. Nails.
Yeah, they just started peeling off. It started with my foot nails. I lost most of my foot nails. So they...
you are just peeling off?
Yeah, they turn... they change the color. In fact, bacteria is very common with foot nails. So they changed the color, and I could see them just peeling off and falling off. Until after the healing in the church,
They came back.
they came back to normal.
Even the one in your hand, your nail, your fingers.
Yes, the ones on my hand were so bad because they turned blackish. They were very black. And I wouldn't like somebody to see my nails. Anytime I was talking to people, I used to put my hands, hide my hands. But now you can see they are very, very normal, like anybody's nails.
Mr. Lango, the diabetic killed your mother, your two brothers, and you are also going. Can you let the congregation know how long have you been now here and how healthy you are? Because people could think that you just maybe got healed 2 months ago, 2 years ago, because there are people here who has received their healing. Will encourage them to know that what happened to them is not just temporary, it's a long life healing.
What I can say, before that I did not know the main cause of our diabetes. So when I found that it was wiping our family, I came here for a deliverance. By that time, you were still at New Cross. I could go there at 11 o'clock, deliverance, for many years. But my healing came on 11th December 2005. That is the time when Archbishop told me to bring all the medicine, the medications I had, and he administered to me. That time, the pulpit was where the choir is. So he prayed for me, and I got healed. And I can remember I used to eat like a pig. Even when I came to church, I could not finish service without going out to eat something. But that day when I came to see Archbishop, I stayed for a whole day, from morning up to evening, without even taking water. So Archbishop called for tea without milk when I was with him at reception. And then that tea kept me going until I went home for my dinner. So from 2005, 11th December, I'm now a normal person.
Which is now 5 good years.
Yes.
5 good years, the man who lost his family because of diabetes is perfect. And according to the research, what we discover with the medical people, diabetes has got no cure. And this one, I want to let everyone to understand that our being here is, don't just think we are coming here just to chase demons out and be here because the demons, whatever it is. There are more benefit of joining such kind of wagon. Olango has refused to divert his faith. I'm so devastated with the people who does not trust my God. And if you don't trust my God, I beg you, can you go to those gods? Because you're going to give me embarrassment. I would like people like Olango who has confidence with God I serve. If I were you, I'll be careful now diverting faith. And I want to tell the church, I have searched in the whole entire United Kingdom. I never found somebody has a ministry which is sound-minded, following the Bible like this one. Not because of me. God has given evidence that we can prove that. Surely there's life changing here.
Well, praise God. Praise God. I just cannot stop praising God for what he has done in my life. I had hypertension, which is gone completely because I've checked it over and over, and it is 166 over 63. I checked it this morning, and it was 138 over 63. That is the best.
That is the best.
That is the best.
And how long have you been having this hypertension?
10 years.
10 years.
10 years.
And this 10 years hypertension, you were in medication.
Certainly.
And this hypertension just disappear here.
Just disappear.
Because of this Jesus.
Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord.
How is your wife feel? Mommy, take that microphone and tell me how your heart is feeling than that Gilbert, my name-mate, who has suffered for 10 years of hypertension. Your husband is now living.
It is great joy to find that he has no high blood pressure, because he get confused sometimes.
Because of when he used to have a high blood pressure,
yes,
he used to get confused sometimes.
Yes, many times.
Many times.
But because I am a nurse, I know to deal with him and encourage him and treat him. So he get over it day by day. And every hospital visit, I'm there with him. I never leave him. I'm always by his side.
Praise
it's
God.
always both of us doing everything together.
And you are happy that Jesus has healed your husband of hypertension for 10 years.
Hallelujah. I'm very happy.
Hallelujah.
Jesus.
Hallelujah.
But